Let's talk about XXE. XML external entity is an attack typical for XML documents that exploits one of the functionalities of XML parsers. The important thing is that this functionality is documented, but can be used by an attacker. The XML document stance supports the inclusion of DTD section, and DTD section, in turn, can include additional components in the document, the so-called external entities. Assume we have some XML document inside which there is a bar entity with the vault value. In the document, there is a link to this entity between the foo tags. When processing such document, the parser will insert a bar entity value and the result will be hello vault. However, what will happen if we insert a link to the file using system keyword? In this case, the parser will call the file and paste its contents into the document. By successfully exploiting XXE, the adversary can read files from the server, for example, source code, configuration files, etc., cause denial of servers, scan the local network, and make arbitrary network queries on behalf of server, and in some cases, even execute arbitrary commands on the server. The vulnerability is quite old. The theoretical possibility of its existence has been discussed since 2001. In 2002, one of the researchers published a paper in which he described the vulnerability in detail and gave its name. However, it's worth noting that this vulnerability can be found everywhere. Probably almost any company that has used XML document processing in its product faced it. Let's take a simple example of how it can work. We have some server that analyzes sitemap XML through an automated bot and shows the site owner the result of this analysis. If sitemap XML contains links to site resource, the user will see them formatted. However, if the user decided to replace the content of sitemap XML with one of the vectors for reading files using XML, then, when analyzing such file, the bot will provide the user with the content of file from which the bot was launched. So the user will be able to read the files from the bot server. XML can also be found and used in many other document formats, for example in PowerPoint or Word. Now, let's look at what we can do with XXE. First, we can cause denial of service using nested entities. The attack is called billions of loves. The essence of this attack is as follows. We have an entity lol5 which consists of several entities lol4, each of which consists of several entities lol3 and so on. For example, the entity lol1, which consists of 10 entities lol, will take about 30 bytes of memory. The lol2, which already consists of 10 entities of lol1, 300 bytes. The larger the nesting levels, the more memory the parsers will need to resolve the entity. When the parser needs to resolve the entity lol5, it will use lots of memory, which can lead to denial of service. However, some parsers limit the number of usable entities or acceptable nesting levels. To do this, you can create one entity with a very high value and use a few of these entities to cause denial of service. Another option is that with XXE you can read arbitrary files. For this, we can use keyword system and specify the file we want to read. We also specify not only the file, but also a third-party resource. For example, by specifying the third-party host and port, we can force the parser to send HTTP request to this resource. If it is not available, we will get an error. This way we can, for example, scan the local network of the vulnerable servers and access resources that were not previously available to us. And in some cases, it depends very much on server settings and environment. We can get ability to execute arbitrary commands on the server. For example, if you have a specific extension installed on the server, you can use it to execute arbitrary commands. However, it's not always possible to see the result of the parser operation in server response. We can use out-of-band technique to get the data. You can find more information on hackery.ai about this technique. The surefire way to prevent XXE is completely prohibit the use of DTDs and external entities in XML document where it's not required. So, let's do some practice.